Hey guys, I'm going to try to record this really quick because the battery on my phone is about to die. Doing this cool challenge of 5 different media, doing the same picture over and over again that I saw on Slew's channel, and I will put a link to that video in the description below. Anyways, so this is the reference photo I used, and I will also put a link to that. I got it, on Unsplash, I want to say. I'll have to find it again. So I did this 5 different times in 5 different media. I did pencil, and then colored pencil on black paper, and then watercolor, and then gouache, and then acrylic wash. So yeah, and I decided that this would be a good time to try out the different papers that I got in my paper sampler that I got from Wet Paint Art. So I will put that in the description below too. Yeah, so without further ado, let's get to this. I'll tell you a secret. I've already painted, or I've already done all the pieces, and this is the back of them. Woo! Woo! Yeah, okay, there we go. That's better. All right. Yeah, all right, here we go. Alright, so the first thing I'm doing is showing off this fancy new Blackwing pencil that I got from Wet Paint, the Wet Paint Art Supply when I was there. And it was just like a, hey, thanks for coming in and spending your money on art supplies, here's a pencil. And I have learned since then that I really like writing with this particular one is a pearl. And it's really nice, and I have since gone back and gotten more of them. I got like kind of a variety pack of Blackwings last time I was there. Yeah. And I have to say that I will repeatedly say great things about Wet Paint because they are awesome. I really like all of the people that I've ever talked to there have been super helpful and friendly, but not pushy, because I really don't like going any place where I feel like somebody's trying to get me to buy something that I don't necessarily know that I need, or trying to upsell me, or yeah, nope, they don't do any of that. So yeah, I mean, when people do that to me, I just get very stubborn. So, and then I tend not to buy anything. So this first one is obviously a pencil study, and I used just that one Blackwing pearl in order to do the whole thing. I just kind of, when I was learning how to draw, I didn't have a bunch of different kinds of pencils of different hardnesses, so I tend to just stick with one pencil and get my depth of value just by varying the pressure and the repetition of strokes in a single spot. So not that that's how you do it, or that is clearly probably not the right way to do it, but that's what I do. So yeah, and it works well enough for me for what I do. So and I do kind of take, you'll see here, I kind of take a sort of watercolorist approach to pencil, where I'm leaving areas of a paper white. And I'm not sure that that's how regular people who like do a lot of pencil studies do it. Like I really have no idea. This is like one of the reasons that doing 5 media on the same reference photo is fun, is seeing how I do things that are the same and different from myself and from other people. So yeah, if you see things that I'm doing that are really strange to you, feel free to leave a comment, because I'm really curious about how other people approach things. Not that I think that there's necessarily a right way and a wrong way, as long as you're figuring out how to make things work for you. It's art. So you guys have probably noticed as you were doing this that this is a 45-minute long video, and I'm sorry, just, sit back, do some sketching, listen to me chat about all of the things. Yeah, I didn't want to cut anything else out because otherwise I felt like I was losing the whole point of this. So I just left everything in that I possibly could while not making it an hour-long video, which I feel like even I should, draw a line somewhere. So you're gonna notice a couple of weird jumps even though this video is so long, and it's actually because I'm having some problems losing videos on my phone. Like coming up right here, there's just kind of an odd jump at the end where I don't have the footage anymore. Yeah, so this is going into the colored pencils on black paper. And I had, like, without thinking about it, on my trip, my phone was like, hey, your phone's getting full. Do you want to back up stuff to the cloud? And I was like, sure. And like some of those videos are gone. Like I looked through my phone, I looked through everything on the cloud, and they're just not there. I don't know where they are. So they're gone. So, well, now I know not to ever back up my stuff like that again. So here I am doing colored pencil, and these are just my ancient Prismacolors that I've had for like 25 years, because, yeah. They were so fancy when I bought them, though. Like, they were so fancy. Anyways, so yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I have not done any sort of art on black paper before. So this is really just a big, an interesting learning activity for me. Hooray! And, yeah, if you see anything that I'm doing that, like, hey, Annie, if you would have just done this other simple thing, it would have made your life a lot easier. Feel free to let me know, because I don't really know what I'm doing with colored pencils in general, and definitely not on black paper. So, I will be posting videos on Wednesdays. I am officially going to hold myself to that. I've just kind of been getting them done whenever this far, and yeah, I definitely didn't get one done last week because the week before I was in Wisconsin at the Fantasy Art Workshop Illustration Intensive, which was amazing. I am really hoping to go again next year. Hopefully they can have it next year. Hopefully there's nothing horrible that happens in between now and next year. I mean, yeah, the world is uncertain. I'm hoping to go next year again. It was so great. The faculty were all amazing, and they're all really, really talented artists. The guest artists and like guest speakers were also really amazing. And the other attendees were just all really awesome. Like, I met so many people that, I mean, it's so nice to hang out with other artists. I don't get to do that very often.
All right.
I don't live in a very big town, and
the thing happened
I work during the
tip of your
day, and I
pencil
kind of
breaks
do
off
art
in your
by
pencil
myself in my
sharpener, and then
house
you
with
have
my
to have a
cats at
mighty
night.
battle in order to
I'm not
make
like a
the pencil
loner by
sharpener work
any
again.
means. It's just like
But I
that's my
won.
usual daily schedule, or maybe
Keith
I go and
sharpener.
hang out
Hey,
with
sharpish.
like a good friend, and then like
Sharpish
that's
enough.
it. Like I don't really have other artists that I hang out with on a regular basis. So like just getting to hang out with other artists was just amazing. And then like all of the other amazingness was on top of that. And I will put a link to the Fantasy Art Workshop below so that you can check it out. I'm sure they're hoping to do it every year from now on. They have been doing it in the past, just not the last couple years. Yeah, so definitely try to go to that if you can. And if you can, let me know. We can hang out there. That'd be awesome. So one of the awesome things you get to do at the Fantasy Art Workshop is you get to have your portfolio reviewed. And I have mine reviewed by Howard Lyon, and I've actually met him once before. He's an amazing artist and a really amazing person, just super nice and very encouraging. Um, and he had a conference out in Utah a couple years ago, literally the week before everything was shut down for the pandemic. So, yeah, met him out there, and yeah, that conference was also amazing, and I'm really hoping they start doing that again. I mean, that was the first one, so I'm hoping they do that again soon. I think a lot of it is just they're getting caught up, like everybody's trying to get caught up, like after the last couple years. So, anyways, um, and that's called the Fantasy Art Conference in Utah, and yeah, so if you get a chance to go to that, definitely do that too. So yeah, that was a big tangent. Sorry about that. So I had Howard Lyon review my portfolio when I was um, at the Fantasy Art Workshop in Milwaukee, and he was really nice and very encouraging, and had some really good critiques to say about some of my pieces, which I think were really helpful. Stuff that I wouldn't have noticed on my own. Um, yeah, and he was also like really helped me kind of see where I wanted to take my art, like where I want my art career to go, like yeah, how I want to think about things. And I really just I want to work for myself. Like I have a job that I like already, and if art turns into a job for me, that's great, but I want it to turn into the kind of job that I want. I don't want to end up working for somebody else and working on projects that I'm not really passionate about. Um, I'm watching my video now, and I there is just this point in here where I add this little tiny bit of peach coloring to her cheek, and then she just looks like she's making kissy faces, and it never stops bugging me. And I still like this piece despite the kissy face, but yeah, it definitely like I you can like actually see it happen. Like she looks fine, and then oh yep, there it is right there. Now there it is. Yep. Now she's got the duck face. Sorry, lady. So, and here we are moving into watercolor, which is media number 3. And I'm just using like my pencil sketch to kind of really loosely map out where things fit on this sheet, because I wanted them all to have kind of the same proportions on the page. So I didn't start with just the reference photo every time. I started back with my pencil sketch every time. And yeah, I felt like that really kind of helped me keep them somewhat the same size on the page. So I don't know what it is about me that I have a 45-minute long video, and I was like, don't you want to look at this wet paper? Yes, you do. And instead of editing it out, I did not. I left it. But um, when I was first starting out in watercolor, things like that were actually super helpful to me. So I left them in for anybody else who might just be starting out with watercolor and going, what do you mean you have wet paper? And I'm like, no, it's wet. It is very wet. And then I just go sploosh sploosh with some paint. And that is all I'm doing here is my paper is wet. I didn't even wait for like the background to dry. I don't really care if they bleed into each other. I mean, meh. And I am really just going to town and painting. I'm having a lot of fun doing this. It's like my favorite thing with watercolor, and I don't do it with any other kind of paint. Um, I mean, I'll paint like a base color with something, but like watercolor does its own thing, and that is why I like it so much. And it's transparent, which is cool. So, speaking of watercolor, I met somebody at the Fantasy Art Workshop who had Daniel Smith Quinacridone Gold, like the original PO 49, I want to say. The one that was discontinued because you can't get the pigment anymore. And he very, very generously gave me a little dollop of it. And if you do watercolor, you'll know that when I say little dollop, I mean like enough to do like an entire painting because watercolor goes a long way. Um, so I'm really excited about that.
I need you helping.
Yep, here's some cat shots. And so I'm excited about that, but I'm even more excited because I looked at the Prodigal Son's website, or Etsy shop, not website, my bad. And he has a quinacridone gold as well. So I ordered his quinacridone gold. So we can do a comparison video. I'm so excited to get it. And like, I haven't touched the quinacridone gold that I got from my friend at the workshop because I've been waiting so that we can compare the Daniel Smith to the handmade watercolor from Gregory at Prodigal Son's watercolor. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I think it's going to be super fun. And if there's, I mean, I can't really think of anything else that needs to be in that video. Like, I'm just excited for that. Yeah. And I do have some other videos planned that are upcoming. Like, I am almost finally done renovating my studio, so I want to do a studio tour. I really like seeing other people's studios, so I'm excited to show mine off. And I have video of it now that's like 4 months old, so I'm really just looking forward partially to just getting that video done so I can delete all the footage off of my phone that I'm sick of looking at. Okay, so the painting, yeah, I tried to like leave some real-time footage in when I was working on more detailed things like the face, just to like, hey, this is how I was working on it. And like you can see like how badly messed up my face looked before I got through this part. Like her eyes look so bizarre. And then like I just kind of fiddled around and I think they came out looking okay. And this is like the next day. This is like 3 layers in. I mean, if there's one thing that's slightly annoying about watercolor is that like you really have to wait for things to dry, otherwise you mess everything up unless you're intentionally working wet on wet. But yeah, like once things start to dry, you just kind of got to let them dry. And I don't have, I mean, like somewhere on the face of the earth there is a hairdryer that is mine. I assume it's in this house. I don't know. I don't know where it is. Oh, this is the third layer. So that was the second layer, and this is the third layer where I'm going back in yet again to try to get more definition on the face and make it not look weird and crooked. um, I know, okay, so these are just sketches, and like the longest of these was the final one, the acrylic gouache one that I did, and that one took me less than 2 hours still. Like I had all told 6 hours of footage for all 5 of these pieces together. So, but yeah, they're definitely supposed to be sketches. They're not finished pieces. They were kind of more just like to experiment and have fun and like get me to think about how I use various paints and like maybe how I should think about stylistically what paints I should be using for what kinds of pieces that I'm working on. And I really think that helped me a lot with that. So if you think this would be a fun little project adventure for you to try, I mean, go for it. Like, yeah, I learned so much about how I paint, and I also learned that like maybe in the beginning phases of a painting, I need to just relax a little bit more because I think I get a little uptight, and I think that actually makes my paintings less good because I really like how this watercolor one turned out. I mean, like I'm not gonna enter this into any competitions or anything, but like I think she turned out pretty good. And I think a lot of it is just the fact that I wasn't overly stressed about how it was going to turn out at the end, so I really just threw paint around when I was first starting. And I think the same can be said for some of my later pieces that I did too, like the gouache and the acrylic gouache. I think they turned out fairly okay just because I wasn't so stressed about it. Okay, so here we are starting on just the regular gouache. And I go over all of these at the end and kind of give you a little bit of zoomy in so that you can kind of see how they turned out at the end when they were finished. Um, the gouache one, I started in a very strange way. Like, I was watching this footage last night when I was trying to cut it down a little bit from 6 hours. So I cut it down to just 45 minutes. Aren't you guys happy? I was watching myself last night and I was like, I think every other one I started like on her face, and this one I was like, I just want to make this big pink stripe. And I have no idea what my thought process was that day. I have no clue. I couldn't even tell you. So, another little bit of news is that I am going to my first, it's a little art fair in a local town called New Richland, the New Richland Farm and City Days. And my sister was like, I'm getting you a booth, and we're just going to have booths there and hang out, and it's going to be really fun. And I have zero expectations of this, but I'm still really excited to just have a booth. And like I am getting prints ready, I'm getting stickers ready, I am getting some original pieces like into frames and getting some original pieces just put into sleeves so that I can bring it all with me. I have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, like, I'm not expecting a lot of people to be there. That town has 1,000 people in it. And obviously during fair days, there's more people than that. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be fun. I'm not really expecting to sell anything. But yeah, I do want to start going to more events like this. So I think this is a very nice, like, low stress entry point for me. I had some pretty serious ugly phases, especially in the two gouache pictures that I did. um, it even knowing how they turn out, it is look at that. It's still like it hurts me to look. I'm like, oh man. Like I'm like peeking between my fingers and like, like her eyebrows so crazy. Um, yeah, they turn out okay, but I definitely was telling myself to trust the process a lot while I was painting these. Especially for the eyes. Um, I think I definitely had to fix the eyes on almost all of them. Yeah. it's hard to, it was really, I don't know why I did this to myself. I could have picked something easier, and I was like, do you know what I should do? Is like a portrait, because, portraits are great. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's, that's already hard. But now let's do a portrait of a woman wearing a veil. Oh, okay, yeah, that's okay, Annie. We can do that. And now let's do a portrait of a woman wearing a veil, and her head is tilted slightly to the side so that you will mess up her facial features in every single piece that you do. Oh, oh, sure, we can do that. And now let's do it 5 times. And 2 of those times we're gonna do it in a paint that you've barely used at all. Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, self. I had so much fun painting these flowers. I haven't said that yet. Painting the flowers in these pieces was just so much fun. I really want to do more pieces with just some semi-abstract flowery backgrounds next to like a realistic figure in the foreground. Maybe an animal next time. Maybe I will let myself do something that takes a little bit longer. That could be. So I just saw Annie Stegg just posted this absolutely adorable oil painting of a girl with a bunny. And it is so tiny. I think it is the size of a business card, I want to say. And that really inspired me. I really want to try doing some very, very tiny paintings. I just, when I was at Wet Paint, I also got some 6x6 panels. And I was like, yeah, let's paint some tiny things. And I want to, but I want to paint some tinier things. Oh, ooh, this part was so scary. When I was trying to do like the veil over the face, there are some scarier parts, but yeah. Yeah, I was like, isn't this gonna do horrible things? Aren't I not supposed to do like a really wet, like wash of gouache over like the dried underlayers? And you're not probably, but I did it anyways and it worked. So I did hold my breath though. And I really had fun. I love gouache. I had so much fun putting these little white flowery bits in that I could then go over again. And, yeah, opaque paint. So cool. I definitely have more gouache videos planned for the near future because I got all those gouache brands so that I could compare them, and I'm still really looking forward to doing that. And then here is a part where one of my cats came up and decided that she was going to freak out because the neighbor's cat was in the it was in the lawn. Not in my paint. Intense tail wagging. And here's that part where I'm doing a very watery wash of gouache in order to get that veil in. And it turned out okay. And I did a little bit of dry brushing too, but a lot of that was just very wet washes, which, I mean, in theory, I think you're not supposed to do. But I think if you do them just really fast and don't keep messing with it, it'll probably be okay. At least it was for me. Yes, and my cat is still there, and she is still annoyed that the neighbor's cat is in her yard. And then I left this one single paint peel in for you guys. I really like paint peels, but this was like the only edge that I really had on any of the paintings that needed to be, the head edge that would show like this. Yeah. Paint peel. And this is my absolutely adorable jar that I got at Goodwill the other day that I keep my gouache paints in. Somebody hand painted that like chef lady on there. I just love her so much. She makes me so happy. And here we are starting on the acrylic wash piece. And for this one, I did just put down colors really fast, and then I left it overnight and just let it dry. I mean, it doesn't take that long for acrylic wash to dry. I also only had so much free time that day. My time has been very limited to work on anything since I got back from the workshop, so... But yeah, you'll see that right there? That's a pretty good, ugly phase. Yep, there was a lot of telling myself to trust the process for this one, and I think this one actually turned out to be my favorite piece, so trust the process. Trust the process, Annie. Do it. So, one of the things that I was thinking about, and my neighbor is like cranking up the bass in his car, so I hope you can't hear it. One of the things that this whole process made me think about is it better to focus solely on mastering one thing, or should you learn several things a little bit, you know? And I think for me, I think that the process that I used was really helpful to me, which is that like I learned a lot of stuff when I was younger, but I didn't have enough money really to buy a lot of paint or anything, so I was really into just kind of drawing, and maybe I might have had some like colored pencils. But I would spend a lot of time kind of learning about drawing and about anatomy and form, so I kind of had some clue what I was doing when I started watercoloring a couple years ago, when I started getting back into art again. And then I was advised to really focus on just watercoloring and really get better at watercoloring, because at the time I was kind of doing watercolor and I was learning linoleum block printing, and I was like learning how to do oil painting, and somebody was like, you should just focus on watercolor, because I mean, like, look at that, it's so funny right now. Yes, trust the process. So, yeah, I was told focus on watercolor, get really good at watercolor. It suits your personality, and then it will help you, like, if you want to be serious about having an art career, like, that's like what you should do, is you should focus on a thing. And I did, and I really think that actually helped me a lot. And I think that if I had tried 2 years ago or a year ago to start learning gouache and learning acrylic wash, I think I would have been just a mess, and I would have been so disheartened by how little progress I was making. And I don't think me of even a year ago could have handled the weird frog look on her face right now. Like, as an artist and as a person, I'm totally different than I was even a year ago, and I think it's because I let myself really sink into learning one thing. And now I'm branching out again into other things, and that's partly due to just the realization that I don't want to work for other people as an artist, and so I'm going to find my own path, and part of that path is my YouTube channel, which is tiny, but that's okay. I still appreciate all of you guys, like, so much. Like, I think I have, like, 85 subscribers right now, and that's, like, 85 people whose, like, I mean, every time you watch my video, it just totally, I mean, it makes my day. Every time I see that I have a new subscriber, I'm like, I can't believe there's a person who thinks that it's worth watching me paint, it's worth listening to my opinions, that, I mean, like, that thinks that they might get something of worth out of my videos to help them as they're trying to learn how to paint, as they're trying to figure out if they want to have an art career or if they just want to, like, I mean, just paint or draw for fun instead of profit. Like, yeah, all of anything that I can do to help make people's lives better makes me so happy. So definitely, like, I mean, like, we are finally getting somewhat close to the end of this video. So if there is ever anything that you guys have a question about, or if you have something that you'd like me to cover in a video, definitely let me know. Especially if it's something that you don't see other people talking about, like, yeah, I'll happily look into it. I think it's really interesting to learn new things. In one of my last art hauls, I had a bunch of books, and I am actually reading them. I'm not slacking on that at all. Right now, I am reading The Secret Lives of Color and Chromatopia. I'm kind of reading them together because they are kind of about the same thing, the history of pigments. And yeah, I love that. I think it's really interesting. The flowers in this made me wildly happy, especially these little leafies I'm painting right now. I wish I had started painting leafies like that all around her so that they were just connected like that instead of like actually going behind her. But that's okay. I like the going behind her ones too. I just like the like kind of rough ended ones better. Yeah. And the acrylic wash that I'm using on this painting is mostly the Turner. I did get a couple of tubes of Holbein acrylic wash, and I mean, I've heard that there's a difference between them, and honestly, I couldn't tell you, so I'm gonna definitely have to dig into that more too, because I could not tell you the difference between them. I enjoyed using them both, so I would probably keep buying the Turner, because I think it might be cheaper. I will admit, though, that the Holbein tubes are adorable. I shouldn't let that influence me at all, but it does. Like, their design is better. They are more visually appealing to me, so it's hard for me to not buy them, especially when I go to the store and see them together in their little racks, and there's so many little pastel ones, and I don't even like pastel, but, like, I just want to buy them all up. They're like little paint candies. Like, yep. And then I will buy them, and then I'll put them in my weird little jar with a chef on it that somebody painted. I will say that painting the veils on this one, like they were scarier than all of the other ones. Yeah. I felt so much more like if I made a mistake painting the veils on this, I was like, well, that's going to be a very large mess that I don't know how to clean up because I just don't know how, like, the experience with acrylic wash. I don't really paint with acrylic anything, so um, I probably shouldn't even say this because I've just barely started, but one of the things that really intrigued me while I was at the workshop in Milwaukee is Sprite was there. She's a sculptor, and she did a demonstration of using Sculpey and various other things to make cool sculptures, and her sculptures are amazing. And she's amazing. Yeah, did I mention that, like, literally everybody at this workshop was just awesome? So, yeah. So I got Sculpey. I got some Super Sculpey, and I want to work on making my own models, and I think I eventually want to get into resin casting and make my own little art toys. I've always loved them and I love toys and I think it's gonna be so fun. I've always wanted to make my own and yeah, yeah. Um, at this point in the video, I want to say that that flower up to the upper right is just ugly. It gets better, but right now it is truly hideous and it bothers me to even see it. So moving on from that, yeah, so I'm gonna try to sculpt. I've started sculpting. I'm horrible at it right now, but I also haven't had a lot of time to work on it. So I'm hoping to set aside some time this weekend to do some sculpting. And yeah, I have not, I have not bought any. Oh, I didn't notice that I ended up in this. Sorry about that. I have not bought any like resin casting or silicone mold supplies. I'm trying to be a little bit restrained, unlike my usual self. I'm trying to like just, it's okay. I don't need to buy all the things. I don't need to do all the things all at once. Like, I have time. I can just lean into learning how to sculpt a little bit and like lean into getting ready for like my first little art fair. And I have a lot of other stuff that I'm working on, stuff that I can't talk about yet because I feel like it's in its early stages, so I don't want to jinx it, but I have a lot of really big things going on right now. So, but yeah, next big thing, sculpting. But I'm not going to buy the mold stuff until I actually have a sculpt that I like enough that I would want 5 copies of it. So there, I'm not going to do it. I can have restraint. I can be restrained. I can do it. I mean, like, I can restrain myself, you know, like, I can just keep myself from buying all the things. It is really hard, though. And I will say that having this YouTube channel does give me the excuse of, but don't I need that for my YouTube channel? Yeah. So we are almost done here. I'm just fiddling around because I really like making little dots and little leaves, and so that is what I am doing here. Alrighty, here are all 5 together. Woo! It's kind of hard to get them all into the phone all at once. Yeah, I'm so happy with how these turned out. Honestly, they all have their own personality, so that's really cool, and I like them all. Even this one, who looks a little bit duck-facey, like, yeah, she looks a little goofy, and she's got bunny ears, but still like her, still happy with how all these turned out. I would love to hear what you think in the comments. Yeah, I'd love to hear if you decide to try this challenge too, or if you've already done it, or anything, honestly. Like, I had so much fun, and I feel like I learned a lot, and I tried to keep these all pretty sketchy, so yeah. Yeah, and here's the horrible mess that is my desk right now. Yep. Alright, well, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate all of you so much, and I will see you again soon. I've got some interesting things coming up, I think. Bye!